Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Underexposed, our weekly macro crypto show, talking all the biggest topics and trends in crypto, broader Web3. Today is Tuesday, March 3rd, and it has been quite the eventful week. We had an AI war play out in public on Friday, and then a real war start on Saturday. And yet somehow our crypto prices are higher than they were this time last week. Does that mean that the bottom is in? We're going to talk about it on today's show. I'm your host, Tyler D. I got my co-hosts in the house. First up, Dees, coin stacker, trader, Pokemon connoisseur, collector. Dees, Jim, how you doing?
GM had to go with the Bitcoin Puppet World Peace hat today. Because that feels like the most apt hat in the collection. But yes. Excited to be here. Excited to talk to you and Peter. We have, as always, no lack of meaningful information to talk about.
Indeed. And happy to have Peter on with us as well. Founder of several companies. Still finding time to hang out with us every Tuesday. Peter, Jim, how you doing? Still mute.
GM, I'm hanging in. World's on fire. Scary times. So trying to think through the best moves and trying to protect the family. So it's a crazy time, but excited to be here with you guys.
Well, we will get into that on today's show. Folks, what are we going to talk about? We're going to talk macro. We're going to talk the Iran war, impact on markets, impact on crypto. We're going to get into this Anthropic versus the U.S. government and perhaps versus OpenAI story that played out at the end of last week. I want to talk Circle stock. It's up massively. I want to revisit that trade. Is it time to go long? What we've been trading on chain and a whole lot more. A few housekeeping items before we dig in. We are live on Kick and X. Make sure to follow us over on Kick. We stream there. FOMO hour every day. Underexposed every Tuesday. And we are doing Yeet giveaways again today. 2 giveaways at the end of today's show. So you will want to make sure you have entered. Producer Charlie will be giving us the code here shortly. Reminder, you will need to be signed up on Yeet using the Morning Minute affiliate code to be eligible to win today's code. Any news? So make sure to enter that and be eligible. We will spin the wheel at the end of today's show. And as always, before we get started, a quick disclosure. The opinions expressed on this podcast are those of the speakers and do not reflect the views or opinions of any organizations they are associated with. We are here to share insights, provoke thought, and maybe even stir some debate, but this is not, I repeat, not financial advice. While we talk about markets, investments, and trends, remember your financial decisions should be made with the help of your own research or with advice from a licensed professional. All right, well, let's get into it. Macro, certainly the big story of the week, of the weekend. The Iran war is here, and it is starting to impact markets. Just a lot of volatility across the board. So crypto red today, but up on the week. So Bitcoin up 6% since we did last week's show. It's at 68K. Got rejected off 70 yesterday. ETH's slightly outperforming on the week, up 6%, 1975. Solana is up 9% on the week. So actually outperforming all of the majors. Yesterday, stock market opened deep red. I think as was expected, came all the way back though. A lot of stocks closed green, but then today sold off again, seemingly on the back of another huge jump in oil. Oil prices up 6-7% on concerns of Iran ordering the Strait of Hormuz closed. And what that means is 15 to 20% of global oil supply does go through those straits. So what will increased oil prices mean for the rest of the market as this war is now expected to go on a bit longer than perhaps we thought this weekend. So that's the backdrop. I guess, Peter, tough times. How are you thinking about like navigating all this? So I guess first question, just broader thoughts on the market. Are we going to see are these knee-jerk reactions? Do you think these are going to have longer staying power? Are we talking days, weeks, months? How are you thinking about this?
I think we'll see more volatility. I mean, I don't think that this is just going to be like, what we saw with Venezuela, where we just got Maduro and then got out of there. I think there's been different perspectives on the war, and Trump, when his kind of terminology has changed from like, oh, well, this will be quick to, this will take 4 or 5 weeks to wars can go on forever. So obviously there's a lot of nuance and different context within those statements. He didn't just say those things blatantly, like one after another. They're within other statements and different talking points, and they're of course trying to get leverage and try to figure this out. But this is certainly going to have a lot of volatility, and there's just massive implications across the board. And it's coupled with the world changing at a rapid pace with AI and the disruption there. So it's really hard to navigate. There's a ton of cross currents, and positioning yourself is very challenging. And I think my broad view is to be defensive and cautious, given everything that's going on. There's certainly going to be a lot of opportunity, but as we're trying to digest all these moving pieces, to me, the prudent thing is to be defensive and cautious.
So that makes sense. So does that mean moving to cash? Like, have you made moves to cash, or when you say defensive, how do you act on that?
Well, today's a tricky day because the whole board's getting killed. I mean, generally when you're defensive, yeah, you're thinking about cash, you're thinking about gold, maybe some commodities specifically. Gold has gotten smoked today. All precious metals have gotten smoked today after a really long extended run. So I don't know. I think a lot of things are just getting thrown out. This is a really interesting market because we also have midterms coming up and the promises from the Trump admin that we're going to have this unbelievable market this year and a booming economy. So there's just so many different cross currents to pay attention to. But yeah, I think the most defensive thing you can do is still be in cash. But it's tricky. There's a lot going on.
And the dollar, seeing that up fairly substantially off local lows in the 96 range back to 99. Basically back to June 2025. And effectively flat over the last 8 months or so now. It definitely is one of those nowhere to hide near-term setups. I mean, other than oil, which is up substantially, gold, as you mentioned, down 4%. Silver got smoked as well. It's down 7%. Seemingly trading like a bit like levered gold, kind of my read, or just perhaps levered risk to a degree. So metals are down, crypto down but rebounding, and then stocks down as well. So it is a red day. I mean, I think this is typically, I didn't go deep into historic war patterns, but as I understand it, it's typically the first few weeks are red, and then markets start to rebound from there. I think a lot of questions right now, just how long is this going to last? I think that's the key question. And unfortunately, it doesn't seem like we're going to get the answer. Perhaps as soon as we thought. And there was times on Saturday where I thought, oh, this might already be over on the first day. But then it looks like more, especially the regime change itself aspect, is going to take much longer to play out. Deez, I saw you nod in your head. Kind of curious for your broader thoughts on this. Have you made any moves? How are you feeling in general?
Yeah, I haven't made any big moves. I'm still kind of defensive from the cash position I have from last year. And I haven't deployed it, so I'm just kind of chilling with it. I also, like you, thought it was over like twice. And it seems like every time Iran elects a new Ayatollah or whatever, they're dead within about 5 seconds. Or that's been my timeline for the last 2 days. It's like, oh, they elected this guy and he's dead. It's like, oh, there was 88 people at this meeting and they're all dead. And you're like, all right, how is it not over? I think, we were talking about a couple specific tokens or plays and group chats over the weekend that were interesting at certain prices that I didn't happen to buy. I think Zero at like $1.50 was one of them. but no, I'm just kind of watching from the. I mean, I'm still holding a bunch of hype, Bitcoin, all the stuff I've been holding. I just haven't made any new moves.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we can get into the crypto impact. This is a crypto show.
Seeing oil trade on Hyperliquid over the weekend and stuff. That was good.
Is oil trading on Hyperliquid?
Or
it is. Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
I don't think I even noticed that.
Because over the weekend, people, that was like one of the first. The volume is gone down, but when the news was coming out over the weekend, this got a little attention.
Yeah, well, maybe we just go right there. Like, arguably the winner of the weekend, I would say, was Hyperliquid. So on Saturday, as the Iran war was just getting started, we had Bloomberg running headlines that you can trade the war on Hyperliquid. And I think I've seen Bloomberg maybe reference Hyperliquid once or twice in the past, but like it's felt more like it's a niche crypto product. Like, this is what CT natives, this is their go-to for trading perps. Hadn't maybe quite gotten there to really breaking out into retail, but man, it feels like it's there now. And seeing that Bloomberg headline over the weekend was pretty eye-opening. And it wasn't just the headline. The technicals backed it up. Open interest on their HIP3 product hit all-time highs. HIP3 is where effectively metals, where stocks are traded, for those who may not be familiar. And there's real volumes there. And clearly traders around the world are taking notice if they haven't already. And in what was a volatile weekend hype, I mean, the chart kind of tells the story. As the bonds were dropping, it fell to 26 and went all the way to 33. 30% jump. And from a trading perspective, I'm not sure we're going to get that $20 entry. But Dee's, curious for your thoughts as that was playing out. Do you think this is a meaningful step change for Hyperliquid adoption? Are we reading too much into it? And then I guess second part is, what does that mean for the trade?
Yeah, I don't know. It feels a little bit meaningful. It feels like this was the first, maybe it isn't. Maybe I'm just misremembering a whole bunch of other minor conflicts, but it feels like this is the first bigger conflict where hype has gotten, a bit of recognition outside of crypto. I could just be misremembering previous conflicts, and maybe there was like with the tariff stuff last year. I don't know if that's necessarily a conflict, even though it's like a market moving thing. But I do think with we've been talking about it for like 3 months now, if not more, but the HIP3 markets just getting more and more volume. I think that is the most important thing here. It's like, yeah, we're mentioned in Bloomberg, that's cool, but like seeing the volume numbers continually go up. Every time I open it and see silver over like $1 billion of volume within the last 24 hours, it's still just a mind fuck to me. Because it's always one of the top, like, I don't know, 5 tokens or 5 things on Hyperliquid in terms of volume. Like right now it's 3 behind Bitcoin and ETH. But I think, this is part of the thesis that we have the Hyperliquid trade. So seeing this type of stuff is good. Also, we've seen the I forget, is it if it's Chicago or New York, but they're talking about they want to do like the 24/7 stock exchange stuff anyway.
CME.
Yeah, CME. But maybe I'm misremembering that. They didn't want to do weekends still.
24/5. Yeah, there's a lot of 24/5.
So even in that world, it's like, we still need that Hyperliquid for the metals trade on Saturday war news. But I think in terms of just seeing the volume go up like that's what we want to see. The whole market's down drastically, so seeing that volume still go up is good.
Hype looks good.
Yeah, I didn't make any moves to like sell it into this pump or anything.
It's tough. Like, I'm sidelined. I've been looking to try to get an entry. My selfish entries around 20 or lower. I'm not so sure they're going to come to pass.
Yeah, 21.
I know.
It's basically there.
And it jumped 51%, 50% from there, right? but at the same time, like it's a little hard to chase here. It just kind of depends on your macro read. If Bitcoin just chops in this zone for the next 6 months, there's probably going to be new entries. If the bottom is in, perhaps not. The other part of this weekend, I think that was very notable. Peter, maybe I'll throw this one to you. So early Saturday hours, we get news that the war has started. Bitcoin immediately sells off to 63 and then immediately rebounds back and then soared across the day on Saturday as news that Kamani had been killed came out. Sold off and then pumped again huge on Monday. That sold off. We bounced off 70K for kind of the second time in the past week. Still hanging out at 68. Are you taking any meaningful takeaways from this price action? Did you expect lower? Did you expect this kind of strength? I think it's fair to call it strength, at least compared to what we've seen for the last 5 months.
Yeah, when have we seen a days where Bitcoin's performing well and gold's going down? I can't remember a day like that. And I'm sure it's happened, but I don't remember like a strong day like today. I mean, Iran mines a lot of Bitcoin. That's interesting. I don't know what the implications are there, but certainly, maybe they're not a seller. I'm sure they're mining and selling, leveraging their energy. So maybe that has an impact. I saw Sailor buying. I also saw a headline that, I think was it BlackRock that was buying as well? I can't remember. I just there's been some institutional buying, which is interesting. And in theory, this is when Bitcoin should do really well, when there's chaos around the world and people are looking for a store of value, especially in the circumstance where people are having to move around, leaving Dubai and all these things. So again, there's so many cross currents, but coins do look pretty strong on a relative basis, especially given kind of how they've been trading in this bear market. And I'm still super jazzed about Hype and Lighter and these DEXs. I'm pretty active on the prediction markets and get alerts when markets are moving. And I was speculating on the Iran war and saw some movement and was able to make real moves with crypto, oil, gold, etc. There's not quite enough liquidity in oil to make like substantial moves at this point in time, but it is cool to see markets trade 24/7. And there's certainly a lot of opportunity there, both on a basis a trade perspective, collecting funding, and then also just making moves. So yeah, Lighter is not performing the same way that Hype is performing. There seems to be quite a few motivated sellers. I think a lot of VCs are probably dumping their bags, but you know what? It's something that I'm still impressed with the platform. There's things I wish would change, but I am very optimistic about DEXs and perps being a huge part of how people speculate going forward. So I like both these platforms.
The Lightards are still optimistic. You heard it here first, folks. Even though one of the questions on my call sheet is Lighter going to ride Hyperliquid's?
Hey, I haven't sold it yet, so it's probably going down another 30%. And then when I sell it, that'll be the generational bottom.
Yeah, it's not the most inspiring chart. Perhaps if you squint, it looks like it might be forming.
Me every week coming back to this and being like, it looks bottom, Tyler. Look at it.
Like, bottom down to the right is not your favorite pattern?
It's coiling. Clearly, there's strong support at $1.30.
I mean, you love it if you've got deep conviction on a long-term time frame because you're getting a beautiful entry on this. I haven't seen the technicals. I don't really spend a whole lot of time thinking about Lighter. Like, have they seen influxes on volumes? I don't know if either of you have been tracking that. I mean, Deej, you kind of went there, but the hit volumes, like this kind of tells the story, right? If you want to know bull case for Hyperliquid, you just look at this chart, right? They expanded into new asset classes and their volumes are going parabolic.
It's interesting too when you look at like I'll just bring up the Will Price dashboard because that's the best dashboard for this stuff. But like when you look at the amount that they're making in fees, Hyperliquid in the last 24 hours only made like 86K in fees from RWAs, and then the main DEX has made 2.13 million. That being said, Lighter had only made 5K off RWA fees in the last 24 hours, and like 110K from their crypto side. So Hyperliquid's still at like 20x the amount of.
What about the weekends? The weekends they did well.
Is there a way on Will's thing to go back and do like
I don't know. I need to figure that out.
Not 24 hours? Yeah, because ideally we would have like a 7-day. Let me see. I can do it here. 14-day period, 7-day period. Okay, it's up at P9. So we had. Oh no, that was. Yeah, I don't see it quite. I'm sure it's on here, and I'm just blind.
Lighter did 5.5 million. I'm looking just at DeFi Llama stats. They did 5.5 million revenue on the month. 60 million annualized.
So this weekend wasn't great for HLP, and it seemed like it was a little better for LLP. So that's good for them. LLP at 10.5% APY and HLP only at 1.95%. They had a couple losing days in a row this weekend.
Is it fair to say Lighter will catch like the delta neutral traders volume? Like if you're long, like if you want to be long one asset but short to capture the fees. I don't do that trade, but you need to be on different protocols. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yeah, I mean that's what
funding is, right?
Yeah, you need. I mean, ideally, you have a lot of tools in your tool chest and a lot of platforms that you can use because funding rates differ between them, and there's often arbitrage between DEXs, and that was a huge thing that blew out on October 10th. And part of the reason I got pessimistic is there's a lot of trades like that that were, people realize with ADLs that you couldn't just have these things set in perpetuity. So that kind of changed the market, but there's still a lot of options. And then I think the safest thing you can do broadly is, like the basic trade is long spot, short perps. But yeah, the cross perp stuff is certainly interesting, and Lighter's a good thing to have in your tool chest. I mean, you can just click down there on Lighter and then just look at what the big funding rates are right now. I'm very curious actually. So if you click on Lighter and then just sort by funding.
YCY.
Other way. So let's see what the other one is. Hyundai. Yeah, so all RWAs right now. It's interesting. It's a very, very, very interesting time.
The other interesting asset class that you can trade now on Hyperliquid on others is pre-market. So Anthropic, tradable on Hyperliquid via Eventuals. You see the Eventuals tag there. Notable because one of the biggest headlines that this would have been probably the main topic on the show had the Iran war not broken out on Saturday, but we saw the drama play out Thursday, Friday. Effectively, U.S. government wanted to use Claude. They wanted they were working through the contracting. Effectively, Dario and Anthropic said we have 2 red line items. Can't do mass surveillance of Americans. We don't want the tech to be used for autonomous drones. Couldn't reach agreement with the U.S. Ultimately, deal fell through 5 p.m. on Friday. Immediately afterward, Trump comes out against Anthropic, and then Hegseth comes out, calls them a supply chain risk. All federal government agencies need to stop using Claude. And I think even as far as anyone who works with the government would need to stop. I don't know if they've actually carried through with that. But then also the next wrinkle, an hour later, Sam Altman and OpenAI sign was a very similar contract, though, with a few minor tweaks in the language. Peter, I want to dig into this one. I think it's kind of a big deal. I guess first off, I mean, OpenAI is now inside. Anthropic still kind of inside. They're still being used as a 6-month rollout, but effectively kicked out for saying no. Who do you think made the right call?
Oh, this is such a nuanced thing. I do think Anthropic has really stood by their mission of ushering in AI in a safe manner. But I think the cat's out of the bag, and given kind of the AI race and just how scary. I mean, this is why I'm kind of a somber mood, is just thinking about AI and drones and autonomous weapons. It certainly feels more like the Terminator or the Matrix. All these things are racing towards us, which is really, really scary. So I don't know if they really had the choice to make, and supporting the U.S. government and the military seems like the right thing to do. Broadly, I obviously don't want to see surveillance of U.S. citizens, but basically Dario's saying, hey, China, like, it's code red, China's coming, they're going to be doing all these things, so we need to be competing on that front. So in that regard, like, if you're really scared about that, don't you want to be working with the military to try to win? And then OpenAI, I mean, I think Sam Altman, I think broadly kind of the view is he's not to be trusted. And even, he jumped on the opportunistic or the opportunity to partner with the government. And then he came out, I think either last night or today, saying he moved too quickly and was opportunistic on this. It was too hasty. So it's a really challenging thing to figure out. AI is moving so fast. There's massive implications, both militarily and then for the economy. So it's just a lot to digest, and it's hard. It's a really, really tricky thing. And I don't know. I see the trade-offs that both companies made, working with the government and the military specifically. So we'll see. It's a really, really tricky time to figure out what to do. I don't know.
It's a tricky topic. There's a lot of ways we can take the conversation. I think maybe focused more on the trading aspect for now and what it might mean for. Let's start with Anthropic, the business. Let's see. I think when
it's very clear on that front. I mean, you want the one with the government contract. So I think this is bullish OpenAI, bearish Anthropic in the short term for sure.
Well, maybe. But then, I mean, it seems, at least on Twitter, if you ran a poll, I would say the poll is 80 to 90% pro Claude. You had the people making statements. I'm canceling ChatGPT. I'm opening my Claude subscription. Katy Perry leading that charge. Well known for her AI prowess.
Early adopter Katy Perry.
But then, like, it did show up in the metrics. Claude was the number one app in the App Store over the weekend. So it is tricky. Again, I don't know if it's. I don't personally think that it was the right decision that Dario made, and I think that the press tour kind of put, the press tour against Trump. If he's your counterparty, that's not the way to negotiate with him, and it's never going to go well. If you think they needed that contract, I don't think that was the right thing to do. And perhaps like their view is they don't. And now you've also seen folks in the AI companies kind of coming out and signing petitions. They want more controls. We need to get there. Kind of going away from the merit of this question. But I guess I don't know if it's bearish. I feel like maybe it's neutral, because I think the positives could kind of outweigh or counter the negatives, at least. But I think for OpenAI, probably is bullish. And I don't know if something happened today. This was trading at 700 billion over the weekend, I guess this happened on the government contract. Wow,
that's the government contract spike. Yeah.
Wow. Oh, okay. Well, yeah. There's no question. It jumped 50%. Anyone who was in that trade had a nice weekend. And just to caveat, there's 3 million in open interest, not a ton, 500,000 in daily volumes. Take all this with a grain of salt. But I guess there it is. Dee's curious if you had any other thoughts or reactions for the market impact of these. And I guess, have you thought about trading either of these companies, and has that changed?
Yeah, I haven't traded either of them. It's probably stupid of me. Like Peter said, it's just really hard to trust Sam from a pure like 60 IQ vibes perspective. But also, I don't know if I trust any of the leads of any of these AI researchers. So like Dario reminds me a little bit of like SBF in terms of like posture and just like the way he looks when I look at him. And I think of all that effective altruism cult shit. I mean, not really a cult, but the way that community tends to look at risk and how they can take risk to benefit the world makes it hard to trust either of them. I mean, just from a product standpoint, though, I'm not the type of person who stops using a product because of something political or governmental. I mean, if I stopped using products because of people who make the products, like I would just drive my car into a wall or something because like Elon blocked me. But I drive a Tesla. Like I don't want to really change my user behavior based off of the actions and whims of like CEOs and government unless it really impacts me as a user. I will say I did see the same thing you saw on the timeline where it felt overwhelmingly positive to the point where everybody came together just to tell Nick Carter he's a bootlicking idiot. So that was interesting. Like I think on Saturday, my whole timeline was just Iran and Nick Carter, who Nick, from what I could tell, was for the authoritarian use of AI and thought Anthropic was stupid.
And he wasn't alone, for the record. Like Palmer Luckey basically said the same thing. Again, it all kind of comes down to nuance. Nick didn't really have a lot of nuance in his X posts, and I think people ran with that. And I was thinking about the thought experiment over the weekend. So, like, if you were if the NSA thought there was going to be the Austin mass shooting and perhaps mass shootings in 10 different cities, and if they hit a mass surveillance button, they'd have 90% chance to stop those shootings. Would you be okay with them hitting that button? And I'm very curious what people would say about that. And then take it further. What if they promised to turn that button off once the threats were clear? All right. So there's a lot of ways you can take this. It's certainly not dry.
The thing with government power in any government, not just the US, is like when you give the government more power, it's like power you're never really going to get back from them. So you make all these little concessions over time, and the next thing you know, you have like 1984, and that's reality because you made a couple concessions here and there, and you made those concessions for a long amount of time, and then they stack on top of each other. I did think Palmer's long post about how do you tell who's an innocent civilian and not, based off of the government might have classified information and the AI surveillance footage might not, and AI surveillance footage might think, hey, this person is a innocent civilian, but the classified government information says, hey, that's like a violent criminal, but it's not public knowledge. Like I don't know, because his phrases with quotation marks, he used a lot of quotation marks to show literal examples. So I thought that was good. But yeah, in general, I think I feel like I am anti-authoritarian. So just giving the government more and more power isn't something I love. But also the rationalist part of me is there's all these AI labs competing. One of them is going to concede to the government and give the government what they want anyway, because it's a competitive lever they can pull. So it seems inevitable, even if I don't like it.
And then another interesting aspect of all this was Mark Andreessen was doing a pod this weekend and kind of related to the government relations with these AI shops. He said he was basically told that AI startups are not investable. Don't invest in AI startups. It is going to become a game of 2 to 3 companies working with the government. They're going to take over everything, and that's it. Which struck me. And granted, he's not the only one talking about this, so take his opinion with a grain of salt. But could certainly see that scenario playing out. And I don't know necessarily what it means from an investing angle. So it's tricky. The other aspect of all this, and I was showing SpaceX But SpaceX, I mean, it seems like Elon, there's 3 big IPOs looming in the AI space. It's Grok and SpaceX, it's OpenAI and Anthropic, all perhaps expected to IPO this year. SpaceX is going to go first. They're trying to go in the next month or so, it seems. And they're going to have the highest price tag, I think 1.7 I saw. So what does that mean for the other AI companies? Is there still going to be enough liquidity around to support these trillion-dollar IPOs? So in the near term, it's exploding up and to the right, but is there enough money to go around? Certainly a tricky one to navigate. I want to keep going. We need to revisit one of our original trades on the show, one that Jeebs, our good friend, was deep in. I think Peter was in as well. Wow, so this is updated since I pulled up this chart. Circle stock, folks, is just on an absolute heater. It's up 7% today, 102. Off the February bottom, it bottomed around 54, so almost up 100% off the bottom. And then the recent boom is stemming from Q4 earnings, which came out last week. I think last Wednesday they were released. Stock was trading around 60. It's now trading at 102. They had tremendous growth. Thinking of is it time to get in this trade? So Peter, I think you were short at one point. I think you were no longer short. Have you considered going long this? Are you sidelined, or are you looking for more short entries?
A friend of mine actually shorted this at like long this at like 49. So
wow.
Kudos to that friend who nailed a 100% gain, basically the bottom. I'm more of a seller at the current prices, but what a run. I'm not actively short. I closed my short in December, kind of ahead of some of I think it was one of the earnings calls. I was worried they're going to pump it. It's pretty impressive price action, especially since a lot of the shares unlocked too for investors and employees and whatnot. But yeah, stable coins are clearly here. It's definitely a big sector that is getting real adoption and creating value for society. So this is a really impressive company. It was just an easy short before if you were paying attention, given it traded at such a huge premium relative to the earning potential. But now, market's much more sane, and I think it's a potential interesting one to have exposure to, and I think people are still trying to get exposure to stable coins, and this is the cleanest way to do it. But the recent price action, I'm not sure it's a great time to hop in. But basically I have no view, not long or short. And kudos to my friend who had the courage to go long. It's documented. I think it's like 49 something that the person got in at. So really, really impressive.
Incredible trade. I agree. These are some tough candles to chase. Up 70% in a week. Maybe look for an entry, but a few things have played out. So I do think the fundamental bull case is stronger now for stablecoins. And sometimes I get bored talking about stablecoins, but I actually think there's some interesting things to talk about. So the big headline from last week is Facebook. Meta is going to get back in the stablecoin game, but they're not going to develop their own. They abandoned their Libra stablecoin, which later was renamed DM back in 2019. They're not going to roll that out. They're effectively just going to work with other existing stables. And they're going to roll them out basically across Facebook, WhatsApp, and Instagram, which I was looking at the numbers last week because I wrote this up for the newsletter. And it's like half of the people in the world use one of these apps every week. And of course, it doesn't mean they're all going to be using stablecoins, but it's arguably like the biggest onboarding group that you could potentially go after. And this also comes in the back of the agentic boom. I think the verdict is still out whether or not AI agents are really going to adopt crypto rails. If that's going to be Bitcoin, if that's going to be stable coins, they're going to create their own bot coin currency. The verdict's still out, but they're all pretty bullish scenarios, I think. for stable coins. And then USDC specifically is the only Genius compliant stable in the US. So for me, like that is the bull case. It's a pretty big bull case. So you've got Facebook, you've got AI agents perhaps using them. Circle is positioned the best for the existing stables that we have. And then the FUD, or not the FUD, but the bear case historically has been, well, it's going to be a bad year with interest rate cuts, which means they're going to earn less revenue. I thought I had the CME odds. Yeah, here we are. So the outlook for December this year, favorite outcome, 50 bips. And then we've got about a 30% chance of getting 3 cuts or more. I was working with Claude to say, like, okay, if that's the base case, how much does Circle need to grow to outpace 50 bips in cuts? And the answer was like 15 million or 15%. I'll pull the exacts up here in a second. But that didn't seem like that much of an outreach. Like they need to grow 15% in circulating supply to outpace 50 bips in cuts from a revenue perspective. They grew 70% last year. And I outlined the bull case for how they could continue to grow. So I think the growth case is certainly there. Arguably, the other bear case is banks coming in with their own stables. And are we going to see some real USDC competitors come on the market? And the other bear case is there are more unlocks. So I thought the big unlocks were behind us. I guess at the 1 year mark, July 12th, this middle of the summer, there's another big round of unlocks. So you need to look at that a bit. That's still pretty far out in the future. But I like the setup. Dee's curious if you have any takes on this one.
Circle's another tough one for me to buy back into. I mean, I never owned it, but we fudded the shit out of it for a good 3 to 6 months. I still don't know what else to buy if you want stablecoin exposure. Like
that's a bull case too.
That's like, but
no one can answer that.
But I told myself that when I was buying Plasma because the Tether was raising at 500 million, and Tether, invested in Plasma, and surely Tether would want to invest in like the stable chains they're going to use. And then Plasma went to zero, and we started pumping stable, which like Tether maybe also invested in. So maybe Circle is the stable coin bet, but like I can't buy it here after it doubled from the bottom. Like the time to buy it maybe was in February after it put in the bottom and then consolidated, but I don't want to buy it after the recent move. Even if I tell myself all these bullish things for stable coins, just because a lot of the times when I find myself in a trade because, well, this isn't really the thing I want to own, but it is the most beta, or it is the most like it has the best name value when it comes to this like theme I want to trade. Like it normally doesn't go well for me. So I'll just watch it on Hyperliquid.
A couple neutral takes. I'm bullish. I think I'm gonna try to find my way into this. I need to look for some entry.
Are you trying to buy like 85, 90, or are you just thinking this is a new trend and we can top blast it? What?
I think new all-time highs are possible on this.
Because I don't think it's gonna. If this trend is gonna continue, I don't think it's gonna go back under like 90 or 85.
Yeah, I'm a momentum guy. I don't wait for pullbacks or entries. If I decide to make the trade, I'll jump in. Again, I hate missing the.
Would you buy that on Hyperliquid, or would you buy that through a brokerage account?
Probably through a brokerage, just because personally, if I've got money on Hyperliquid, it's just like it's very liquid. Then if I have another trade I want to make, I'll just get out of it. Like I'll see.
It's like a problem. Like you can be like, oh shit, okay, yeah.
Versus something, put it elsewhere. Like, okay, I can hold this for 5 years if it's over in this account. If it's on Hyperliquid, I struggle holding it for 5 days.
Yeah. Meanwhile, if you just held it in your brokerage account where you can't trade it over the weekend, you catch a nice move.
So we'll see. We'll have to get Jeeves back on again to get to hear his if he's still bearish or not. I think even Jeeves is starting to come around on this one.
I mean, we were only bearish because it was like $200+.
Sure, and that was the reaction.
It was hot off an IPO where Robinhood was telling users in the app, "Do not sell this, or you're going to get punished and not allowed to buy the next rocket mooner."
and it was almost traded at a market cap of its total circulating supply, which is insane. Insane.
There was a ton of reasons to not like it.
And the part that's still a little confusing to me that I need to do more research on, and maybe Tyler, you have this answer, but what is their arrangement with Coinbase now? Like what is that deal? Is there a new deal? Because a large percentage of their revenue would go to Coinbase. I guess I could Gemini that to see if there's a new deal or whatever AI I want to look at, but a huge percentage of their revenue and profits went to Coinbase.
Yeah, I think that's a part of the bear case. Yeah, I don't think the terms are exactly public, but as Circle's revenue grows, so does how much they have to pay Coinbase. So that's another thing to consider, certainly. And probably need to dig in a little bit more on the PE where it's trading.
I'm finding this out right now because that's a huge thing.
I do think the growth case is still very strong. But yeah, what does that mean for its 26 billion market cap? Not small.
Okay, I got it. This is relevant. So the current agreement, the 50-50 split, on the terms of early 2026, the revenue is split based on where the USDC is held. On platform, Coinbase keeps 100% of the interest income from USDC held directly by its customers on the Coinbase exchange. Off platform, for USD held anywhere else, DeFi, other exchanges, private wallets, etc., the interest income is split 50-50 between Circle and Coinbase.
So anywhere that
recent changes in 2026 was a renegotiation. The 2026 renewal window, the commercial agreement is on a 3-year renewal cycle with a major review schedule for mid-2026. Analysts expect intense negotiations as Circle, now a public company, faces pressure to improve its own profit margin by reducing the amount of distribution and fees it pays to Coinbase.
Yeah, interesting. So if I onboard to WhatsApp using MoonPay, and I hold $1,000 in USDC on there, Circle has to pay Coinbase 50% of that, even though they weren't in the transaction.
Yeah, so it'll be renegotiated, but this is all part of my original short thesis was we got close to a market cap that was similar to the circulating supply, which is just a huge premium for forward earnings. Mm-hmm. And in addition, a big part of their revenue was going to Coinbase, this 50-50 split. And at the time, a huge percentage of USDC was Coinbase itself, which based on this Gemini report, 100% of that revenue went to Coinbase. So there's a lot to figure out here. There's a lot of nuance. Obviously, the earnings have been strong, and clearly people still want a way to express a view long stable coins. It's not the euphoric market that we had in the summer of 25 when people were just doing stupid stuff. And depending on when you decided to short it, you could have gotten smoked because it was straight up into the right for a while. I certainly didn't top tick the short, but it seemed pretty obvious to me that this was way overvalued, and at some point in time, fundamentals would have to kick in. And the key now is what do you believe the fundamentals to be? And I think a key part of that is going to be this negotiation with Coinbase. So if you're trying to express a view or have a position, I would wait for that information to come out, or if you believe you have intel on where that's going to go, then you could express a view based on that information.
And then I wonder if they're going to line that. You said summer, I think, or I'm curious if
that's what Gemini says, mid 2026.
If they line that up with the next round of unlocks,
and also the Clarity Act, which we haven't talked about, how that plays out. Coinbase has been against it. Apparently, Circle has been more supportive of that. And then, potentially some more M&A things. We'll see.
Which, by the way, 50% odds last Friday, up to 75% today.
Wow.
So something's happening. Not a huge volume market, still a 300K market. But some positive movement for those looking for that one to get past. About 5 minutes left in the show. Let's talk. What else are we trading? Deez, you've been making any trades? We've talked about VVV a little bit. I think we were both mostly VVV lined on that one.
Yeah, shout out D Farmer. He was the first person I saw start talking about this sometime around like $2-3 range in February. So shout out to him. He's the only person on my timeline who I saw talk about it before it hit like $5. But I did not buy any of this or DM. Just kind of watching it while I hold banker like a fucking idiot. I think this is doing what I thought banker was gonna do, and banker's just been chop solidating here. But I haven't been too active in the shitcoin streets. I feel like FOMO's been quieter this week. Frank withdrew like all his stuff off FOMO, and a couple of the other, I think, big accounts withdrew a bunch of stuff off FOMO. So my phone is not blowing up as much as it was when they were trading. And I'm just chilling in the Pokemon streets. That's what I'm trading. I'm like on Courtyard and Fidgetals and Collect Crypt and every other fucking crypto Pokemon platform. And I'm just lowballing people who are selling things like under market prices because they don't check eBay or TCG Player. That's been my trading. So Pokemon Top's got to be in, man. I just every time I buy another card, I'm like, this has got to be the top.
You're single-handedly supporting it. I feel like I see all your Pokemon.
Dude, I'm not buying like the expensive cards, right? Like if somebody wanted to put the amount of money I've put in the cards, like they could just buy like 1 or 2 cards and do nothing and just hold them. But not me, dude. I gotta collect like 500 plus, mid-range cards. Just like with NFTs, I'm not buying alien punks or zombies or apes. I'm buying mid-range shit that is going to be hard to sell if I ever need to sell it, and it's not going to appreciate as much as the floor or the top range because it's just how I collect things. But I'm having a lot of fun, and I think that's all that really matters for me.
Gotta do what you love.
A lot of these OG poker players and some of the big poker whales are collecting. So
I saw that Rampage guy, the Black Star Rayquaza for like 300 some grand this week. After he was posting some of the Poncho Pikachus and other cheaper stuff earlier on. It does feel like the collectible card market is like the NFT market of 2021 right now. Like I feel a lot like I felt the first half of 2021 where like a bunch of people who don't really know what they're doing are just coming in and buying shit. You have some cards going up like 50% in a week or two, even though the supply of the cards is like massive, like 60,000+ supply cards. It's a very fun time, but it's also like, I feel like it's got to be a top. When you see me buying a whole bunch of cards, like it's got to be a top sign. It was in 2020, 2021 when I was buying them. So
this was when Top Shot peaked about 5 years ago.
Good old days. Right? Dude, would you rather have a John Morant Holo or a Mega Charizard Poncho Pikachu? These are tough questions.
Hey, if anyone wants the original John Morant Top Shot,
that's got to have some
all-time generational fumble on that whole thing.
That's got to have some historical brand equity in that. Just the story behind it. That kick-started a little mania.
I feel like it was a huge part of the mania.
Okay. It's a huge part. I still collect some Top Shots here and there. I still think on a long time horizon.
Really?
A shot. I just think they're cool collectibles. I really do.
You're gonna make me log in again.
But before I got plug zero. I think you kind of brought it to my attention. It was kind of off my radar. I follow what the team does loosely. They had their major update with the zero chain. It's going to be arguably the biggest blockchain upgrade in a decade. But we had Brian Pellegrino on FOMO Hour last week, and just talking to him firsthand was basically enough of an investment thesis for me. He's a powerhouse. His team is a powerhouse. Like if I'm going to back anyone in crypto, like he's on the short list. So coming out of that interview with him definitely made me want to try to find an entry on the zero token. And you have to know, like, there's still a ton of unlocks coming across the next 6 months. So you have to be aware of that. And there's there's macro market conditions to consider. Not one that I'm rushing into, but it feels like a really strong DCA, and one that, like, if there is a bull market that runs till 2028, 2029, like, if you're looking at 10x upside type plays, like, that's on my short list. So it's trading at less than $1 billion, right? Like, even hype, like a 10x on hype is huge.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine.
I mean, it's trading at 30 billion, so you need 300 billion. Zero needs to get to like 10.
Yeah, no, it's not that crazy. We were talking about trying to get it between $1.50 and $1. It's like a golden range, and we had under $1.50. Not long, but I mean, we had it at least for like a couple days last week. But it's definitely on my short list too. I think Peter might have even been the person who made me aware of Brian, or it feels like related.
Yeah, we go way back. He was in the DFS industry. He actually built a competitor to DraftKings.
Yeah, I don't remember if I remember him from like if he was on DFS streams with like you Levitan and Bales years ago or what, but I definitely know him through the DFS guys.
One to look out for. Well, with that, I think we went around the horn for today's show. So it is time to do our giveaways. We're going to do 2 $500 Yeet giveaways here today. A quick housekeeping item. So the Yeet team did change the rules. So with how these prizes will work, you will need to log in every day. You'll claim $100 per day. So if you win $500, you'll need to log in 5 days in a row to do your claims. And with that, producer Charlie, let's pull up the wheel. Let's give it a couple spins. All right, here we go. All right, so this is going to be our weighted. So looks like we'll do one weighted and perhaps one more open. So let's all right, Master Fonzie lighting up the chat in front of Arsenic. Wow, do you outpace Arsenic in volume this week? Well, a deserved win. So thank you for playing on the Morning Minute crew. All right, so you've won $500. Again, you'll need to log in every day. We'll work with the team to get that all sorted out. And then we're going to do one more of these wheel spins. We go. I've won before, but I don't think has won in the last month. I think both of you are clear. The rules are you can't win twice in a month. Certainly, I don't think either of those have. So you both should be good. Thank you both for participating. And I want to thank all of our listeners for tuning in to today's show. I want to thank my co-hosts. As always, we'll be back next Tuesday to talk all the biggest topics in crypto and Web3. Until then, have a great week. Goodbye.
Take care, everybody.